Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and you know what time of the week it is. It's Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, but everybody's hyped for Friday as well, and there's only one reason for that, and that's because it's time to talk about my wrestlers of the week. That's right, it's been a very competitive week in the wrestling world. Not only have we had NXT, the Great American Bash, not only have we had AEW Fyter Fest, and we're getting both of those again next week, but we've also had some New Japan action over in the New Japan Cup. It's all been absolutely kicking off. So, a host of great performances to talk about as well. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at my honourable mentions. My honourable mentions of this week are, first of all, I want to talk about the opening tag team match in AEW's Fyter Fest, which was Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus taking on MJF and Wardlow. Honourable mentions to all four of those guys. It was such a pure heel versus babyface clash. Loved the dynamic, loved MJF's really controversial and nasty promo at the start, and I love the result as well. Big happy win. Great stuff from all four guys. I think I should also talk about one of the shorter matches at NXT, Great American Bash, which was, of course, Oney Lorcan versus Timothy Thatcher. Honourable mentions to both of those guys as well. I really wish it had gone longer. Just trim some time off that Roderick Strong and Dexter Lumis strap match, which was alright, but a bit too long for my liking. Just trim a bit of time off that, stick it on the Lorcan-Thatcher match, and there you go. And also, probably, I'm gonna have to give an honourable mention as well to the Best Friends for a wonderful performance, a losing effort, but a wonderful performance in the main event of Fyter Fest Part 1. Getting dropped off by Trent's mum, and she's saying have fun, and she's waving them off, and she gives Trent a kiss on the cheek, and then they go out and put on a banging performance. Yes, loads of respect for those boys, love them as a tag team, love them on the mic and in promos and stuff. What more can you say? Honourable mentions to both of those bloody best friends. But now on to number 10 this week, and it's the new number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship, and her name is Tegan Knox. Now, of course, I originally knew Tegan Knox as Nixon Newell back in WCPW. She was the first ever WCPW Women's Champion. She put on some great matches for us, and it's so nice to see such a talented wrestler progress to this level in NXT. She took part in the opening match of the Great American Bash. It was a fatal four-way elimination match between herself, her arch rival Dakota Kai, Candice LeRae as well, and Mia Yim. And the match was good. I enjoyed everything about it, really. I enjoyed the progression of it. Candice got, teamed up on and eliminated. Mia Yim put in a good effort, but then she was eliminated, and it all came down, as it should have done really, to Kai and Knox. And ultimately, it was Tegan Knox who picked up the big babyface victory. Big headbutt, Molly go round, Shining Wizard. What more do you want? 1, 2, 3. Why did she look so shocked afterwards? I know the real reason. It's because she's, a happy-go-lucky babyface. She can't believe she's done it. She's the number one contender. But why did she look so shocked when she just headbutted her opponent, hit her Molly go round, and then kneed her right in the face? Dakota Kai was knocked out. Dakota Kai wasn't really knocked out, it was all acting. I don't know if you know this, but wrestling is predetermined. Anyway, 1 point for Tegan Knox. Congratulations and welcome to this year's Wrestlers of the Week League table. Number 9 this week, let's go to a little known program, a forgotten one. Let's dust off the, I don't know what I'm trying to do here, some sort of crazy metaphor. Let's dust off the ashes of years gone by and pull out 205 Live, and let's talk about the premier athlete, Tony Nese. That's right, it's once again, after quite a while away from the league table, maybe over a year, I don't know, I don't quite know when he was last on it. It's Tony time, once again. Tony was on form on this week's 205 Live, putting on a 20+ minute match. It was the only match on this week's episode of 205 Live against Isiah Swerve Scott, and just doing what Tony Nese does, putting on really, really good wrestling matches and getting next to no acclaim for it. Well, I'm giving you some acclaim here, Tony Nese. Congratulations to you. Yes, this isn't the peak of his career, in WWE. He was previously the Cruiserweight Champion. I think, he won that on the pre-show of WrestleMania a year ago. But, this is good too. This is a really promising week for Tony Nese. I just don't see how he can break out of 205 Live given the current climate. Hopefully, once everything's back to normal, we can see some of these kind of forgotten 205 Live athletes break out and progress to other brands, because I just don't think that 205 Live is really doing anything for anybody at the minute. We've seen a great match this week, but that's very much the exception, not the rule. The quality of the guys in 205 Live is great, but it just never really catches the attention, does it? And that is a shame for people of the caliber of Tony Nese, for example. So 2 points to Tony Nese, great performance, but you didn't pick up the win, did you, Tony? So Tony time is now over. Cheesy. What the hell am I doing there? Number 8, and still the AEW Women's Champion. It's Hikaru Shida. Shida defended her title at Fyter Fest, and it was a highlight of the show, certainly. A lot of people were saying it was their favorite match on the show. It wasn't my favorite match personally, but the other matches were tag matches where, you know, the shining moments were split between too many guys to earn them a place in the top 10, which is why I've included so many of them in the honorable mentions. But Shida, she had a lot of the limelight, and it was a good performance. It looked at first as though the match wasn't going to last very long at all, with Shida just nailing a couple of big moves straight out the gate and almost picking up an immediate flash victory. But that's not quite how it went down. Things progressed. We had a bit of interference here and there. We had a bit of shenanigans, a bit of heelishness from her opponent, but Shida was able to overcome, like any good babyface should, and pick up the big victory. The crucial thing here, though, is that it wasn't as simple as she maybe thought, or as many of us maybe thought. She had to use multiple finishers, multiple running knees, falcon arrows. She really had to throw everything into this match just to keep a hold of that title. And that adds prestige to the title if it's done sparingly, as it was here. Of course, you don't want a belt where, you know, it's impossible for anybody to win with a finisher and they've got to hit like 5 different finishers or whatever. But when it happens once in a while, I think I can forgive it. And it was well worked here. Shida put in a good performance, as she so often does. And I think correctly, she's still the AEW Women's Champion. Now, currently, I believe the number 1 contender is now Nyla Rose, the former champion, of course. Are they going to book a rematch between the two? Will Nyla Rose become the first ever 2-time women's champion in AEW? We're just gonna have to wait and see. I believe that next week, I think it was announced, she's gonna have a surprise for us, some kind of announcement or surprise. We don't know what that is, but I imagine it's gonna either be, I don't know, maybe she's just gonna challenge Shida again, maybe she's gonna ambush her, maybe she's gonna introduce an ally or a tag partner that she's, you know, a friend she's made. I don't know. I'm intrigued, but if I was Shida, I'd be worried. One thing I wouldn't be worried about, though, if I was Hikaru Shida, would be my points total this week, because she's picked up 3 lovely points in Wrestlers of the Week. Number 7, even though she lost, let's talk about Shida's opponent, Penelope Ford. A lot of people are saying that Ford put on her best match ever this week. I would certainly agree in saying that it's probably her best match in AEW that we've seen. Well, not probably, it definitely is her best match in AEW, but I don't know enough about her career prior to AEW to really make a judgment call on that. But a lot of people have been saying it. I think Alvarez was saying it, Sean Rossap may have said it as well. A lot of people who know a lot more about North American wrestling, indie wrestling than I do, have said that this was her best match ever. And it's easy to see why. Even though Ford lost the match, this could be regarded as a bit of a breakout performance for her. You got a sense this was going to be a little bit different to the standard Penelope Ford match right at the start when Kip Sabian was sent to the back. That means that there was going to be much less heel shenanigans, much less interference going on. There was a bit of interference later, but it was just one spot from Sabian. He was dealt with by Shida and a kendo stick, and he rolled to the outside. The rest of the match was just Shida versus Ford, and that was the way it should have been, and I'm glad they did it like that. And as I mentioned, the real story of this match, apart from Shida picking up the whip, was Ford's resilience. She kicked out of a lot of things. Like, she kicked out of the Falcon Arrow, she kicked out of the 2 running knees, I think, and a Falcon Arrow. Then she got put away by another big running knee. But, you know, that's way more than you'd expect from Penelope Ford. Especially since this was never really her spot. You imagine that she's jumped a few places in the pecking order because of things like the injury to Britt Baker, the injury to Chris Statlander. It feels like Ford arrived in the title picture sooner than expected, but man, did she make the most of it. So a great job from Penelope Ford. I think her performance is arguably an even bigger talking point maybe than the fact that Shida's reign is continuing. And for that reason, I'm going to put her just 1 place ahead of Hikaru Shida. Sorry, Shida, but, you know, spread the wealth. Penelope Ford, you deserve those points this week. Congratulations. Next up, I said Tony time was over, but Swerve o'clock is here to stay. Come on, Jack. That's right, number 6 this week is Isiah Swerve Scott for that match on 205 Live against Tony Nese. Just a great performance. It's such a shame that 205 Live just doesn't really make much of an impact on the wrestling world anymore, because this week it just provided us with one of the best matches anywhere of the entire week. And you know what to expect. It was standard 205 Live action in terms of well, not standard 205 Live action, because when I say that, you think of guys flying all over the place. Isiah Swerve Scott was flying all over the place. Tony Nese trying to keep things a little bit more grounded, but in the end, it was the babyface Isiah Scott who won the day. My only fear is that this result is going to eventually mean nothing in the grand scheme of things for either man. I talked about how I hope that Tony Nese can break out of 205 Live at some point, and I really hope that Isiah Scott can as well. This week, I believe, news broke very recently that WWE have purchased Evolve, I think, and Isiah Scott, or Shane Strickland as he was then known, was a major player in Evolve quite recently, just a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago I'll say. And it's just sad to see guys who come from the independent scene as like kingpins of their little area come to WWE and suddenly reduced down to having a banger of a match, but only on 205 Live, and only once in a while. I was also a big fan of Isiah Scott in Lucha Underground. I just think he's got such a great background and could be utilised far better by WWE. What is the character of Isiah Scott really? We don't really know. He's not given enough time on the mic, and I don't think he's given enough time in the spotlight generally. Hopefully, this performance this week will have caught the attention of some people in WWE, and hopefully it leads to bigger and better things. Moving on now to number 5 this week, let's go to All Japan Pro Wrestling and talk about their Triple Crown champion, Suwama. Suwama is no stranger to Wrestlers of the Week. He's cropped up now and then over the past 2.5 years. However, that's usually for putting on a good match in like the penultimate bout of the show, or maybe somewhere in the mid-card, maybe even in a tag match. This was for main eventing the show, defending the top title in the company, and doing it really well. This was a pretty epic encounter between Suwama and Shotaro Ashino, a massive strong challenger, but it was Suwama who was able to pick up the victory. And it was one of those long drawn out epic All Japan style matches, nearing half an hour in length I think. Suwama is busting out the amateur wrestling skills early on, there's loads of strikes thrown between the two, he's taken a battering from the far larger man, but in the end he's able to use his experience and his toughness to really gut out a victory. It was an interesting match to watch, not the easiest watch of the week, a bit of a grueling one at times, but definitely rewarding if you watch it all the way through. Now, I was critical of All Japan's booking basically when Suwama became champion, because he ended the like record-breaking, amazing reign of Kento Miyahara. Miyahara is of course the ace of All Japan. He's like the Kazuchika Okada of All Japan, and he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I was shocked that when they ended his reign, they gave it to an older guy, not a younger one who could really do with the rub, and I'm still not entirely sure why they did that. However, as long as Suwama is putting on great title defenses like this, I think that All Japan's decision can't be looked at as too bad of a one, because it's led to some great matches. So congratulations to Suwama. What's that, 6 points for you? I still don't agree with you being champion, but you put on a good show, mate. Damn it. Next up, another Japanese champion, but not in Japan. We're going back to Florida, and we're going to talk about the NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai. When the two cards for Fyter Fest and for the Great American Bash Part 1 were announced, there was one match that really caught the eye, and it was this one, the match between Io Shirai and Sasha Banks. WWE made a great decision in my opinion in putting this match on as the main event of night 1. I'd rather it was the main event of one of the two nights than lost in the shuffle somewhere on, you know, the mid card. I think this was the correct decision. It was an awesome match and another great performance by Io Shirai. Io was able to pick up the victory, and whenever you beat, whenever you're an NXT superstar and you beat a Raw or a SmackDown superstar, it makes your stock go up, because even though you've been portrayed as this badass in NXT, it's a different world, isn't it, to Raw and SmackDown. And I think that this victory, even though I believe it was a non-title match, I think that this victory could be regarded as a pretty signature victory, a pretty important one in the overall context of Shirai's reign. Because yes, she's also beaten Charlotte Flair to win the belt, but that was in a triple threat match. She didn't actually pin Charlotte, she pinned Rhea Ripley, and I think getting this win over Sasha Banks could actually be a little bit more impressive. Now, of course, the finish was not clean, not entirely, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but she still got the W, and that's all we care about on Wrestlers of the Week. Can't do that very easily without having to maneuver my fingers into position. Io Shirai for me is like one of the best placed champions in world wrestling right now. I can't look at a single other member of the NXT women's division and think they should be champion instead of Io Shirai, because she's popular, she's charismatic, she's killing it, and she's amazing in the ring too. The only issue is, I'm also a big fan of Tegan Knox, who is now, of course, the #1 contender. So when that match happens, I think Io's probably going to win and probably should win, and it pains me to say that, but you can't be having Tegan Knox beat her at this stage. I'm not saying that Tegan Knox shouldn't be a future NXT Women's Champion, of course she should, but right now, it's Io's era. Io's era. I like it. I've just come up with a new hashtag. Number 3 this week, I had a dream, I hadn't made it. Now there's nothing dragging down me yet, because a girl go and push it all out the way. Yes, yes, y'all. We're the best, y'all. Snoop Dogg and Sasha Banks. I don't know the words. Number 3 this week is, of course, Snoop Doggy Dogg for his seminal 90s gangster rap album, Doggy Style. No, it's not. It's Sasha Banks. And by the way, I should point out at this stage, this has been possibly the best week for women's wrestling in Wrestlers of the Week history. There's been so many great performances by women's wrestlers this week, and they're all totally. It's not like one of them's just snuck in because it was a week of wrestling. The performances across the board have all been strong. It's just that women's wrestling has on the whole been better this week than men's wrestling, which is such a testament to talented performers like Sasha Banks. Now, first of all, Sasha lost the match, right? And normally, as I said earlier with Hikaru Shida and Penelope Ford, normally the winner gets, more points on Wrestlers of the Week, but sometimes, like in the case of Penelope Ford, it's more about the loser. And while Io Shirai certainly gained a big victory here, this was all about Sasha Banks coming down to NXT, or coming back to NXT, and doing what she does best, and winning the ratings war for NXT as well. Yeah, take that AEW, I hate you. I don't, I'm a big fan. And not just that, not just the fact that Sasha seems so larger than life in NXT once again, but also her performance. This was another one of those matches where Sasha just decided, right, I'm going into this match and reminding everybody that I'm one of the best wrestlers in the world. It was such a great performance from Sasha. She's got such great control over her body. Every bump, every period of selling, every bit of offense, it just was enhanced so much and made the match so much better because you've got Sasha Banks flying around and giving her all. Now, of course, we have to talk about Asuka, who involved herself in the match, popping up out of nowhere, misting Sasha, and then eventually, obviously, Sasha would lose the bout. This is all in preparation for Sasha versus Asuka at Extreme Rules, a match that I'm so excited for. It looks like it's going to be really good. Will it steal the show at Extreme Rules? I honestly think the question is more, will it not steal the show? Because I would be surprised. I know we've not seen all of the card announced yet, but I would be surprised if Sasha versus Asuka wasn't the best match of the night. It's got to be, surely. It's two of the best wrestlers in the world going at it, and I think it's gonna really impress. So congratulations, Sasha. You lost the match, but you won the war, the ratings war, and you've also won 8 points on Wrestlers of the Week. Number 2, let's go to New Japan. We knew we were going to go over to New Japan. I'll be honest, there's not been that many banging matches in this New Japan Cup compared to what I thought they were going to be. But this week, we saw the best match, I think, of the tournament so far, and one half of that match was Tomohiro Ishii. Ishii is great at making himself look like a tough, badass dude. Ishii is also great, better even, I'd say, at making other people look like tough, badass dudes. And in wrestling, that is so invaluable. The reason that Ishii gets to number 2 this week and picks up 9 points is just because it was another great performance. In fact, many people are talking about this as the best New Japan match since the lockdown started, since Wrestle Kingdom, essentially. So effectively what we've seen here is one of the best New Japan matches of the year so far, and again, yet again, it's Mr. Consistency himself, Tomohiro Ishii. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Ishii lost to a junior heavyweight, which is crazy because that just doesn't happen in New Japan. It happens sometimes with people like Shingo Takagi, people who are moving from the junior ranks to the heavyweight ranks, usually juniors who have bulked up and look pretty massive anyway. However, I mean, Ishii's way more bulky than his opponent and still lost. It's a crazy and bold booking decision, and one which I think shocked me, certainly, but I think can be justified. In fact, before this tournament started, I had 2 picks for the tournament, basically. One was Ishii, and one was Kota Ibushi. Ibushi lost to Taichi, so he's had a nightmare, he's out of there. Ishii, then I thought, well, he's going all the way. He's going all the way, and he's going to face Naito. They're going to have a massive war for the belt, and Naito's eventually going to pull out the win. But we're going to be teased with the possibility of a Tomohiro Ishii IWGP Heavyweight title reign that we've longed for so long. Instead, he doesn't even get that far. Doesn't even get to the semi-finals. The semi-final lineups have been confirmed, and I'll talk about them in just a second, but Ishii's out of the tournament once again after another amazing losing performance. And I say this every time I talk about Ishii on Wrestlers of the Week, or nearly every time it seems like, when is he gonna get this big push that he so blatantly deserves? And if he does so, will my friend Sam Driver be able to contain his excitement? But now, number 1 in my Wrestler of the Week, the man who beat Tomohiro Ishii, the man who defied his own place in the junior division, I suppose, beat a big heavyweight and moves on to face Kazuchika Okada in the next round. And if he can beat him, then we're witnessing something truly one of a kind. It's Hiromu Takahashi. For my money, Takahashi already will go down as one of the best juniors in New Japan history, even if he retired today. He's not quite on the level of like Liger and Kushida yet, but he's so close, and he's only getting closer with each year that passes, despite certain injury woes. This match, as I mentioned, was an awesome one. Takahashi trying to get into a strength battle with Ishii, which just obviously didn't work, then using his speed, and then just muscling him up for some huge moves towards the end, and finally, pulling out the monumental victory. And I'll admit, yes, they maybe telegraphed this slightly because Takahashi was talking a lot before this tournament about how he was going to win, how he was going to face Naito, how he really wanted to face the leader of his own stable and all that sort of thing. But I wrote it off as just crazy Hiromu Takahashi saying what he wants. But no, this could be true. This really could be true. And it's so bizarre to think about because he's a junior, and juniors do not win the New Japan Cup. Now, of course, we have to talk about the next round, because Takahashi's facing Okada. If you ask me, could Takahashi feasibly beat Ishii, I'd say yes at a push, and he did. If you ask me if Takahashi could beat Okada, that's bold. That's a bold and radical booking decision, and New Japan are not too famous for their radical booking decisions. Wins in New Japan, big wins like a Takahashi over Okada win, are usually earned over like 5 years or something. There's a massive build to that sort of moment. We saw it with Naito, it took him so long to beat Okada. If the junior guy in his stable, Takahashi, beats Okada, I don't know the world will have been turned upside down. But does that mean I don't want it to happen? No, I quite want to see it. I quite want to see Takahashi win. I'm just curious to see what it would do. It would just shake things up massively. Over on the other side of the bracket, it's a bit of a less exciting story in my opinion. It's Sonata versus Evil, two of Naito's other stablemates of course, and they're going at it to get to the final two. Now, if Sonata wins and Okada wins, we get another Okada-Sonata battle, and they fought so much during Okada's last title reign, it got a bit tiresome towards the end if I'm being honest. If Evil wins and he gets to the final, and so does Okada, then we've seen Evil versus Okada quite a lot as well in various G1 climaxes. They always put on a great match, but do I want to see it again? It's not that important to me. But if Takahashi wins and faces one of his stablemates in the final, then you've got to say Takahashi should win this tournament. And if he does and faces Naito, that's a bit of a dream match. They don't face each other because they're stablemates. And because they're in different weight classes as well, that's a pretty crucial detail. But I just don't know how Takahashi's going to beat Okada. If he does, then we could see him be Wrestler of the Week again very soon. But for now, congratulations Hiromu Takahashi, you are my Wrestler of the Week. The league table will return shortly, but there's not been a whole lot of change towards the top anyway. Kenny Omega still in the lead, Cody in second, 3 points behind, and then Masato Tanaka 7 points behind Cody. As we move further down, Hiromu Takahashi has moved up, into joint 8th position alongside Daniel Bryan and his stablemate Shingo Takagi. Hiromu's stablemate, not Daniel Bryan's, that'd be silly. And after a quiet year because of New Japan's struggles with lockdown and not putting on shows, Tomohiro Ishii has finally jumped up into 16th position. So, a big week for New Japan, but an even bigger week, I reckon, for women's wrestling, with the performances from Sasha Banks, Io Shirai, Tegan Knox, Hikaru Shida, and Penelope Ford. It's been a great one. So thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and stay safe out there. Stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.